This video is brought to you by Hero Wars. Man, I wish I was a medieval king, right? I could have all I want. Imagine that, have a fancy crown, wear the best clothing, wearing shining armor, everybody has to do what I say, I can eat whatever I want, my word is law, I'm super rich. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Actually,
Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today we are going to talk about quite a few kings that, if they could have seen the way, they would have met their end because of the fact they were kings. I think they would have wished they could have been born peasants. Literally, I'm not saying that they weren't kings in the medieval period that just lived rich and opulent lives using their power and died of old age, if such a thing even exists from a scientific point of view. But definitely the kings that we're going to look at today are kings that had horrible ways to go meet their maker. The first king I'd like to mention is Richard III, King of England, who died at the Battle of Bosworth. So in the 15th century, civil war raged across England as the houses of York and Lancaster fought each other for the English throne. Fought on the 22nd of August 1485, the Battle of Bosworth was the last and possibly most significant battle of the Wars of the Roses. During the battle, as King Richard III noticed that his men were struggling against his opponent's forces, King Richard decided to gamble it all, leading a big cavalry charge in the hopes of killing his opponent Henry Tudor. Here is what happened. They surrounded him. They dismounted him, they removed his helmet. Now, I've read an historian saying, well, maybe he did, they didn't remove the helmet, maybe he removed the helmet at one point during the battle. No, he didn't. They forcefully removed the helmet from his head, and then they proceeded to inflict 9 wounds to his head, 2 of which fatal. All of these carried out by late medieval weapons, the 2 fatal injuries being the one at the inferior aspect of the skull, namely a large sharp force trauma, possibly from a sword, or a halberd, or bill, and a penetrating injury from the tip of an edged weapon, which wounded deeply into his brain. Posthumous to his death, injuries in the inside of his pelvis, scaling up the number of wounds to 11, were also found, which means that after stripping him of his armor, they proceeded to sodomize him with a dagger. Shakespeare got it wrong. My kingdom for a horse? It should have been my kingdom for a freaking helmet. At the time of death, he was 32 years old. Still wanna be king? Well, check this one out. King number 2, Richard II, who was starved to death. No, literally, how did that one happen? I mean, whenever you imagine being king, you think, wow, I'm so wealthy, I literally own everything, every single little field that you see where they are growing wheat, they're growing potatoes, they have chickens, they have pigs, I own it all, so what do I want tonight for dinner? Literally, I reckon a medieval king wouldn't have a hard time understanding the modern concept of DoorDash. Food will be granted at your grace's desire. But not for Richard II, it wasn't. Alright, so he was the son of Edward the Black Prince, we all love his armor, well done dad, and was crowned in 1377. He had his struggles during his reign, but everything seemed to be doing alright until Henry invaded England in 1399. So Richard get deposed, Henry crowned himself king, they put him in a tower, they lock it, and I suppose they throw away the key. So he starved to death in captivity at the age of 33. Hey, 1 more year compared to the first one. But regardless of all this, I think one of the nicest things about being king is to be able to live in such an amazing palace, right? Beautiful chandeliers and golden thrones. And then when your time comes, at least you'll be dying in this like beautiful, gorgeous king-size bed, I suppose, covered in the most expensive silk. Unless you're James I, who died in a freaking sewer. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, should I? I'm sorry, it's just, oh gosh, it's an awkward laugh. So James, just like many other kings, had his fair share of enemies, right? For example, this group of Scots who were led by Sir Robert Graham, who decided to assassinate him, but of course he's not gonna just stand there and let them assassinate him, is he? So King James attempted to escape and decides, you know what, there is this sewer, I'm gonna go through it, and then I'm gonna leave from the other side. You know, Elder Scrolls Oblivion style. I mean, if an emperor of all people tried that, I mean, why not? So he enters the sewer, goes inside there, but then remembers that he had the drain blocked up because it was connected to a tennis court he liked. Probably from a historical standpoint, the most fitting moment to say, oh shit, And now I'd like to take a moment to mention the sponsor that made this video possible, Hero Wars. Today's sponsor is Hero Wars, brought to you by Nexters. We all love MMOs where progress is everything, right? We start out as level 1 heroes and work our way up to greatness. Here, your job is to create a team of heroes and equip them with all of the skills and abilities they need to kick some serious behind. You can get new heroes, level up your existing ones, and create even stronger teams to take into battle. And the best part, every move you make pushes you further towards total domination. Why Hero Wars? Well, there is a character to suit everyone in Hero Wars, and that is because of a huge variety of heroes, classes, and abilities. There are more than 60 truly unique heroes here, and you can collect them all and build your own party, combining heroes to pass dungeons and defeat bosses. It's like you're playing an MMORPG and managing a huge guild at the same time. You probably won't be able to find another player with the same team as yours. You can test different teams on different bosses. It's very easy to start playing, but assembling a perfect team of heroes is an art in itself. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Here's a question for you. Where can you get 30,000 coins, 600 emeralds, and 5 awesome heroes to start dominating in Hero Wars right away? Too slow. The answer is in the link in the description below. Play Hero Wars now. Still in the realm of food, do you wanna know what happened to Henry I? Well, he died of food poisoning. See, if he was a peasant, he wouldn't have had access to that food. Makes you think. Now, when we say food poisoning, I'd like to underline, it's not just a matter of what he ate was bad, which absolutely was, you'll see, but it's also that he ate too much of it. So I know what you're imagining, right? You're imagining, well, this guy was a king, so probably like he had access to, I don't know, 100 custard tarts and freshly baked apple pies. But I can get it, right? He probably ate too much of that stuff, he died. It's difficult, you know, oh no. Do you wanna know what he ate? He ate this. I'm not joking. Oh, you don't know what this is? Well, let me tell you. This is called a lamprey, and it's an eel. But not any eel. It's a eel characterized by a toothed, funnel-like sucking mouth. Hungry yet? I'm not done. The most famous ones are the parasitic carnivorous lampreys that feed by attaching to fish and suck their blood. But apparently they have long been food for kings, which, I mean, okay. But considering the fact that they can be poisonous, his physician told him don't eat too many, but he didn't care because it's like, I'm king, I do whatever I want. And then he died because of it. Mate, really. Alright, some kings died during battles, but that's, you know, a rarity. Most kings had access to the best armor, the best types of weapons, so of course it's going to be difficult to kill a king in combat or during a battle. And you know, I would agree with you. I would absolutely agree with you. The one who wouldn't is James II, who died during a battle because of a malfunctioning of a cannon. In other words, the freaking cannon exploded on him. Again, I shouldn't laugh. Can you imagine the crew, the bog moment when they're like, oh shit. So James II was king of the Scots, and he was, you know, methodically and systematically taking back as many Scottish castles from the hands of the English. And one of the characteristics of this late medieval king was the fact that he was an early adopter of artillery. Like, the guy really loved it. It's like, wow, so you're telling me that we use this thing and then the enemy goes boom. I love that. So, you know, it's during this last, swear to you, it's the last siege for the last castle. But then the cannon exploded, together with James, who also exploded, if that wasn't clear enough. James, you should have stuck to trebuchets. Haven't you played Age of Empires 2? James? I think one of the things that I respect the most about medieval kings is, and nobility in general, is how they would participate in jousting, you know. Particularly when you compare them to like modern politicians. Can you imagine a modern politician fighting in an MMA cage and win? So honestly, the fact that kings would like put on their armor and be so epic and heroic and fight against other knights, I would also imagine that, I mean, if you're the king, the other guy will kind of let you win if possible. But then again, you know, they're still doing physical combat. I think it's pretty cool. If that's what you think, then Henry II of France would like to know your location. Henry II absolutely loved participating in tournaments, jousts, hunting. It was a physical man. Now, on the 30th of June 1559, a tournament was held to celebrate two things: the peace with his longtime enemies, the Habsburgs of Austria, and to celebrate the marriage of his daughter. However, during a jousting match, King Henry was wounded in the eye by a fragment of a splintered lance, which belonged to Gabriel Montgomery, captain of the King's Scottish Guard, who was jousting with him. The court doctors and surgeon tried to remove the splinter, then decided, you know what, let's just wait, see, maybe he will recover, but he didn't, and he ended up dying by sepsis. Now can you imagine that? His enemies of Austria were being like, you know what, let's just make peace, we can't defeat this guy, and then they hear, oh, by the way, the king is dead. Say what? Peace, in this case, was the ultimate weapon. What's more royal than hunting? Particularly like fox hunting. Imagine all these kings and royals with all of their friends and servants, and there they are, you know, you're doing your hunting, you're good, everybody's like clapping, my lord, that's wonderful, my liege. Little stroke to your ego as the king as you launch the perfect arrow that kills the prey. Now that's all fine and dandy, unless you're William II, who got killed by an arrow during hunting. Who the... So, on the 2nd of August 1100, the king was participating in a hunting activity in the so-called New Forest. Now, however you want to read it, the first chronicle of event is that of a quote-unquote accident. In other words, the king was shot by an arrow by one of his own men, the arrow going through his lungs. So basically, we're talking about a center shot. Now, was this an accident? Was it actually premeditated? Well, of course, a certain pattern of political conflict in this period between particularly brothers and other possible rulers is always to be expected. Also keep in mind that the church itself considered it an act of God towards a wicked king, so it's not like the guy was liked. Accident or no, I think that day the king should have probably stayed home with a couple of guards and a knight. Alright noble but I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember thumbs up, and if you're not yet members of this community, become a noble one. Subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. Please don't forget to click the link in the description below to take advantage of the amazing offer from Hero Wars. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.